Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Hello,
Quite happy
everybody.
to see that there is quite a lot of people today for this topic. So we'll take an hour to talk about the healthy aging ecosystem, go a bit deeper on the insights that we shared a few weeks ago. And before that, just a few words about ourselves and Digital Food Lab. Jérémie, if you want to start, maybe to introduce yourself and ourselves.
Yes, thank you. So we are DigitalFoodLab. Matthieu and me are both DigitalFoodLab partners. We have a background of entrepreneurs. So we created one of the first French food tech startups 15 years ago. And after that, we created DigitalFoodLab, which is a consulting company dedicated to food tech and innovation in the agro industry. Um, well, uh, um, maybe Matthew, if you want
Yeah.
to.
So today, first we'll look at some of the insights, as I said, that we shared on healthy aging, go in more depth into the different trends that are shaping this innovation ecosystem, and share with you what we observe in terms of directions that these trends may take in the years to come, and also answer your questions. So if you have any either topics that you want to address that are not in the presentation or in this insight, or questions that come up during the presentation, you can just use the Q&A tool in Zoom. So you can ask all your questions there, and we'll try to answer as many as possible at the end. We'll try to take 10, 15, 20 minutes to answer these questions.
Yeah, and
Uh,
if we can't take time to answer your question live, I will write you short answer if possible.
yeah. Thank you for that. And so, just a few words about Digital Lab. Basically, why are we talking about healthy aging today, and why are we legitimate to talk about it, and what is your interest in talking about it? So, as Jeremy said, we are a consulting company. We've been working in agri food tech for the past 15 years, and especially we work now with our clients on consulting on two streams. First one is what we call exploration. So we help our clients, helping them to explore new innovation ecosystems. So what's happening either in a very specific field, or helping them to understand what are the fields that they need to explore, and or helping them to set up a watch to know on the way what is happening. And the other stream is strategy. So how to leverage all this information and how to move forward. We obviously look at this space on with a global perspective, try to localize the insights, obviously based on our clients, and not only look at what startups are doing, but also what's happening in terms of research, and what other large corporations are doing, either in terms of what they are doing in terms of innovation, or how they are structuring their innovation strategy. So, first, just a few words to set up the stage. When we talk about the food tech ecosystem, it's interesting to have a view about where we are. It's especially related to our topic about healthy aging. So, in terms of funding, as you can see on this graph, you have the latest data point from DigitalFoodLab. Basically, funding has been declining since 2021, and last quarter in Q1 2026, it was again a stable but not so good, not so bad quarter. So things are not doing so well. And it explains in part what so many startups have switched from B2C, highly expensive strategies towards B2B strategies. And then among these strategies, one which is focused on health. But beyond data and beyond funding, what we observe is a succession of positive signs. So maybe a potential bounce back in terms of appetite and interest into the innovation ecosystem. First, we just released a couple of weeks ago an insight on unicorns, so a startup valued more than 1 billion in the agri-food tech ecosystem. And for the first time in 5, 6 years, we see an increase in the number of unicorns. The number created last year was quite high compared to the previous years. So things seems to be moving forward, and we also see that in terms of corporate involvement. So I'm pretty sure that many of you have heard about Yule being acquired by Danone, but also Unilever acquiring Kronos in the US, and other companies investing, partnering, doing joint ventures with startups. Things are again on the uptick. Also, if we look at trends, our last webinar, so maybe I see that some of you were already there 2 or 3 months ago when we did our webinar on food tech trends. As you can see, many things are rising in the left-hand part of the ecosystem, which means that it's not the end. Actually, we are a bit more in a time where the ecosystem is being restructured. So in a way, we are very positive about the state of the ecosystem. And also why we're talking about healthy aging is also that there are many trends, as you can see on the left part of the graph, that are related to health, the light blue, green ones. So very interesting to see that this space is one of the most interesting to look in the long term. Before jumping into healthy aging, just a word to let you know that we do a lot of talks and workshops for clients, either through inspiration keynotes or dedicated workshops to deep dive in specific topics, or webinars to focus on any given areas such as trends or consumer demands and new products, D2C, etc., etc. So is that something that could be relevant to you? Please don't hesitate and reach out. We do a lot of this kind of talks and workshops. So to go to the core of our topic today, let's start with question number one. What is healthy aging? I think there are as many healthy aging definitions as people talking about it. So here is our proposal. Basically, instead of trying to define what healthy aging should be, we have looked at what is happening in terms of innovation in that space and gone from there to define the space. So very simply for us, healthy aging is a combination of ingredients, food products, and services that are targeting positive health span impact. So keyword here is health span, which is slightly different from lifespan. So the goal is not to increase the duration, the length of your life, but to increase the length of your life that you will have in good health, which is could look like the same, but which is a very different paradigm. Again, also it's a combination, and it is at the intersection of three spaces: food, which is why we're here, but also health and sports. And we see that replicated through 7 categories, which we call the 7 goals of healthy aging, which are longevity, increasing lifespan, gut health, immunity, mental health and sleep, weight management, women's health, and physical health. These are the 7 categories, the 7 goals where we see innovation happening in terms of healthy aging. So that was question number one. What are we talking about? And then we can wonder, why are we talking about it? That's pretty simple. When we talk about food tech, we see that disruptive innovation is an answer to the 5 big challenges that face food. And three of them are actually related to health aging. First, most obviously it's in the name, health, so an increase of food-related diseases, obesity, diabetes, but many others, aging population in our Western countries, so population is aging, and the issue of value distribution, question which we can translate by the fact that private label brands are rising in many countries, and that CPG companies, ingredient companies have to find new ways to differentiate themselves. That's why we see health aging as such an important space. Obviously, the question now is why are we talking about it right now? I think it's first because we are much more aware about the aging challenge. I think aging was a topic, but it was not such a pregnant topic as it is right now. We have this global discussion about peak population, which could arrive very, very soon, and decrease population in many Western countries. So this is now on the table, and obviously there is a very big topic around GLP-1. So all these new class of drugs that are appetite suppressing and which are causing a lot of adverse effects for the food industry. So obviously these drugs are still at their low levels or at low levels of penetration, so around 6 to 12% in most developed countries, but it's rising, and so it's having an impact on consumers and on food brands. Uh, and as I said, GLP-1 drugs are just starting. We have data in the US showing that it's around 12% of consumers using GLP-1 drugs currently, and this is rising quite fast. In India, products are now generic, so you can buy other big copies for as cheap as $14. So it's arriving massively. And what we're looking at is not just GLP-1, it's its impact on the relationship of consumers and food and how they consider it. If we look a bit longer term, you can look at Google Trends for peptides. Consumers are getting super excited about this topic about peptides. May have seen all the craze in the US around biohacking, consumers buying Chinese peptides on the gray market and injecting them with peptides. So it's rising really fast. And what it shows is a new relationship that consumers have with food and with health products, showing that they have a will to change their appearance, look maxing, you may have heard about it, and using new products and basically looking for solutions to help them. And that's what we see pretty much in data when we see when US consumers are asked, specifically GLP-1 users are asked what they want to do. It's one of the only categories of consumers in the US that is ready to trade up, so to increase their spending in almost all food and beverage related categories. It's very different from the general population. And they are still massively 90% of them looking for new food brands and products designed for them. So it's massive, and it's very rare that in the food industry you have such a strong consumer signal, which is still unmet, as we'll see in terms of innovation. Before moving to the trends, just again a quick word and use case. Obviously, so many things are happening. Trends are shifting super fast. Innovation is popping up all over the world with thousands of startups, hundreds of them raising fund every year, etc. So it's super hard to follow and track all this information and obviously to make sense out of it. So that's something that we do for our clients through our bespoke food tech watch offer. So the idea is that each month we come to you with key insights matching your interest, your topics, and a couple of presentations per year to track key opportunities and, if relevant, scouting to identify startups that you should talk to. So a quick focus on trends, an explanation about the trend curve. The idea is that when a new innovation, a new trend is appearing on the bottom left of the curve, that it just get out of the lab. One or a couple of startups or new companies are trying to experiment with it. Oftentimes, a bit longer after people are starting to get excited about it. We feel that it's the future, that it will arrive very soon, and it will be extremely disruptive. And kind of fast, we discover that either the business model or the technology and eventually both of them are not working. So there is through of disillusion. And finally, we oftentimes with new companies, the trend, the innovation is going up again, rising, this time with validated technology, validated consumer test, and a working business model. And it can finally enter disruption stage where it's adopted by pretty much everyone. So when we try to use this framework to analyze what's happening in the healthy aging ecosystem, here are the different trends and ecosystems that we can map. So we see many of them, which we've separated in two categories. The one which is pretty much about the goals and the categories of innovation, and the other one, which is the small icons, it's about technologies that support the longer term trends, so technologies that are related to synthetic biology and alternative proteins. What we'll do is to look in depth at each of the main trends, starting with brands, so the better for you brands, D2C brands. So I've put on the right hand corner the goals that they address each of these trends compared to what I've shown on the first slide around the definition of the space. So here we're talking about new brands, new food and beverage products, new supplement brands that are directly targeting one of the 7 goals related to healthy aging. Their innovation is oftentimes more marketing than product or ingredient innovation, but it's a space where we observe a lot of innovation, a lot of acquisition, obviously huge appetite from corporates with the recent acquisitions that we've seen. Here are just some categories and some examples. Some of them that you know, probably like Yule, which was acquired by Danone, but you have also protein bars where, contrary to what we may expect, innovation is still very strong. There are still a lot of opportunities of differentiation there. Beverages with obviously focus on gut and hydration. Supplements with new categories such as all-in-one supplements, women's health supplements, and finally mental health. So a space which is fascinating in terms of the depth of innovation, the depth of new brands and how fast they can rise. It's very, very impressive to look at it. And I think it should, and it is already on top of the mind for many CPG players as a source of inspiration. That we see is also, and where it may go next, is we observe the emergence of a lot of new categories, especially an innovation in categories that were unfashionable. We see right now, and you've probably heard about it, this fiber maxing trend, and we see new brands trying to make again exciting brands around fiber, etc. So there are huge spaces of opportunity and innovation. Uh, right now, we see that corporate big CPG brands are still a bit locked around the space of protein, trying to add protein to pretty much everywhere. I'm not sure that's enough to add, as on this example, protein to cheese, etc. That's good, but is it enough to surf the wave of health aging? Probably not. We obviously see an uptick of acquisition that we already mentioned, and where we see an opportunity, and there are many of them. First, in unsexy categories, unfashionable categories, there are many things to do. Um, Maybe some acquisitions have been made a bit too late. So it could be that there is a space for acquisition at earlier stage, and also for mid-sized companies, there is a huge potential for being innovative there to take a bit more risk than big CPG players. Then, if we look at the space of what we call first-gen LCG ingredients, here what we talk about is just the new ingredients that are developed by leading companies with focus benefits, which are often around fiber, alternative sugars, gut health in some cases. So these are ingredients that are either already on the market or ready to be used by big CPG companies. So here we have a whole category, but mostly developed by the Cargill, Symrise, etc. of the world. Third is about GLP-1 companions. So here we talk about products and services developed for users of GLP-1 to either support them during their use of GLP-1 drugs or afterwards. So what's absolutely impressive is when you look at this graph on the left side, which is a projection, the latest data projection in the US of users of GLP-1. We can expect that in the next 4 years, there will be 31 new million users, and that's just the median average scenario. That's not the most optimistic one. So huge potential, and a potential that is bigger than just GLP-1. I think one of the most compelling data points that I've read in the past year is around Vital Pursuit from Nestle, where 77% of the sales, even if the brand is quite heavily branded around GLP-1, 70% of the sales are coming from households where no one is using GLP-1. So it's also targeting indirectly all the protein fiber craze. In terms of categories, there are boosters, so products that are there to boost the way the drugs are efficient, so make you lose more weight. Meal delivery services, relieving the consumers from all the worries of cooking in a time where he maybe doesn't feel about it. Supplements to compensate for all the adverse effects of the drugs, notably around collagen and fibers. And you have the new brands that are emerging, which are support products, like this GLP-1 support brand with a new name, No Worries GLP-1. Interesting, small, but emerging and interesting to look at. There is a small, surprisingly small corporate involvement in space. So new brands or brand adaptation, notably from Nestle, Conagra, improvements from ingredient makers trying to make ingredients more suited for GLP-1 drug users or more palatable, say from Kerry, Cargill, and many other ingredient makers. Where we see an opportunity, it's on the space of development of new brands, going a bit farther than just adding proteins and maybe a sticker on an existing brand, but either reframing an existing brand or creating a new brand there, very much dedicated to the needs of this population. And again, 90% of GLP-1 drug users are seeking new food brands, so brands dedicated to them. And if it's a category that will represent 30 million people in the US, more in 4 years, probably 50 to 100 millions in Southeast Asia, that's a very, very compelling category to address. A fourth category, which is about food coaching. So here the idea is to support consumer questions around what to eat, how can I achieve better health span, better lifespan through what I eat and I put on my plate, with a whole array of categories. Companies and startups using CGM, continuous glucose monitoring, to provide you advice on which types of food are good for you or not. A whole array of players focused on diabetes, dietitian apps, which we see so a lot of them emerging last year in the US. So connecting dietitians to your insurance company, to your company as a provider or payer, and you as a user. Dieting apps and B2B food coaching. So players that you can use yourself as a CPG and ingredient company to create consumer-facing application. Right now, people are still mostly focused on weight loss and diabetes. We see very few experimentation around more niche topics like sugar reduction, but that could happen. Very few again around GLP-1 performance, elderly care. Corporate involvement remains limited. There are a few companies doing experimentation, notably in Asia, players like Ajinomoto, doing experimentation around elderly care and specific populations. What we see first as a risk is what I put as an example or illustration is the convergence of tech and AI and health. So if you've not done it, I recommend to have a look at OpenAI Health. It's basically trying and doing a good job at it of building online doctor providing a lot of advice based on your health and all the data that can feed it. And at the end of the day, if you ask any food-related question, it provides you an insight and an answer. And in some cases, it can, notably in the US, directly you towards a shop, towards Instacart to buy food products. So it's a risk for the food industry if it's not engaging in the food coaching space to miss out on this opportunity and to be recommended by other players. So that would be why I think that's one of the biggest opportunities, mostly from the threat point of view, for food companies to engage into that space and into food coaching. We have still four spaces. One now, and we've went from ready for disruption towards things that are creating a lot of appetite, but which are very far away from us, at least from the consumer point of view. So let's start with the next generation of ingredients. Here, we're talking about ingredients that are developed mostly by startups that are not regulated, not yet authorized, with very few products on the market. Different types of ingredients targeting gut health, so directly with pre, pro, postbiotics, with ingredients coming out of fermentation, new peptides discovered through protein discovery and engineered and then produced through precision fermentation, lactoferrin, HMOs, new ingredients targeting longevity, immunity, and providing measurable, demonstrable effects. So very different and with potentially very strong and again, measurable effects. Again, compared to other spaces, surprisingly, very high corporate involvement for a space which is kind of far away in terms of potential to deliver results. So it is creating excitement inside ingredients and CPG companies alike. Uh, Obviously, it's indispensable for leading companies to be engaged in that space as it's potentially the way to create biggest level of differentiation because these will be patentable, differentiable products, and at the end of the day, on the shelf, very, very different product from competitors and private labels, but still quite far away. Next category is about biomimetics. So very few companies, but very high excitement, I feel, for a small space. So here we talk about ingredients, so food-grade ingredients designed to mimic or stimulate GLP-1 pathways. So the idea is either to boost your level of GLP-1 production, so naturally, or to be a biomimetic food grade equivalent to the food drugs, Ozempic, Wegovy, and the others. So corporate involvement is limited in terms of visibility, just because there are few startups and there are very few things on the market, but very big appetite. Everybody's talking about it, pretty much. The opportunity is there, but we should mention that the space is quite small, very exploratory yet, and that there is a strong regulatory risk because if something works, if a biomimetic really works, at the end of the day, it's a drug, not that much a food product. So that could be one of the limitations. Uh, we are almost at the tip of the innovation trend with longevity. Uh, Again, longevity is a topic that we've heard about for the past 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. Everybody's been talking about it, but there'll be a lot of talk and not that many action and not that much results to be shown for it. When we talk about longevity, what we talk about, it's about food products, beverage supplements that are designed to have a proven, and that's a key word here, effect on extending lifespan. So for that, it requires a bit of explanation. When we talk about longevity, there at the core of it, there are what we call the 12 hallmarks of aging. We spent quite some time deep diving into this topic, and it's very fascinating. Many of them, most of them, are not really related to food. That's number one. So you can't really act on them. Then there are four buckets where food could have an impact. So the first one, and maybe the most evident one, is around gut. There is a gut-related hallmark of aging around dysbiosis. So everything that can have an anti-inflammatory or gut-friendly effect, notably through new ingredients that reduce negative metabolites, is a very positive and interesting product for longevity. Then, second category is around supplements, especially NAD+, without entering into details. That's an ingredient, something that you're supposed to produce naturally, but which decreases with age and which is at the source of the energy matrices which fight aging internally in your body. So very interesting. Nestle is doing the research and publishing research on it. Unilever is investing into startups in that space. Third is around weight management. There are so many studies showing that it's not really about reducing weight, but having a stable weight, and finally supporting physical health generally, which is again, if you remember my first graph where I was linking health, food, and sport, it's a bit more related to the sports part. So there are few players, either on the very focused NAD supplements part or on general supplements addressing different hallmarks, probably a bit more on gut health, and also addressing other categories. Corporate involvement is increasing quite fast recently with Danone, Unilever, Nestle involved in that space. Interestingly, more involvement from CPG, FMCG companies than ingredient suppliers, where we could have expected to see more of these players being involved. So we will have to see how it evolves on the space, but that could be an opportunity for these players. There is a huge opportunity of collaboration across different fields, including pharma, hospitality. And again, there is potentially a risk of letting this opportunity slip away because there is too little proof to show any efficiency. And we still expect this topic to become very, very important in years to come, notably as the population ages and more people are in the 55 to 65 range where this topic is the most prevalent. And finally, personalized foods. So in a word, personalized food is a space that we've been all dreaming about, but it does not never really materialized. So the idea is to create tailored food products or supplements based on who you are really, so not just a questionnaire, because that's not really personalized then. So you have pretty much only supplements on that space using genetic data, biomarkers, microbiome. You add a couple of companies doing personalized meals, but actually they all failed quite dramatically. So the space is not yet ready. First, because there is no provable data showing that if you eat this or that based on your phenotype or genotype, you will achieve these results. And because it's very, very costly to run this test and to achieve personalization. So what are, at least from our point of view, the takeaways from all this healthy aging space? What's important, and I wanted to underline that again, is that we've not looked at what healthy aging should be or could be, but pretty much where innovation is happening. So it gives us then a picture of what could happen. But among all these innovations, many of them won't deliver the results, but at least you have a global picture of what's happening. Most of the exciting trends are in very early stage days, but there are few companies there in each of these trends. For a big player, for an ingredient company, a CPG company, there is a need to start and kickstart partnership just right now because then if it works, it will be too late if they have not initiated partnerships pretty much right now with these players. And in terms of short-term opportunities, there are still a lot of them. I'd say in order of importance, that would be around the D2C Better For You brands, where there are so many things, either to acquire, partner with, invest, or to create internally. GLP-1 companions, untapped potential compared to the mass of potential users in the years to come, and food coaching, which I see a bit more as a threat that should be looked at more seriously by the food industry. Before moving to strategies on how corporates can look at the healthy aging space, I also wanted to just note that we look at many such spaces for clients, which can be healthy aging, can be a bit more narrow, like sugar alternatives or biomass fermentation, or even more technical questions through our deep dive. So here, our methodology is quite simple. We help you refine the questions. We map the ecosystem. We agree on the core categories that are relevant to you, and then we deep dive it to help you understand what startups, competitors, and research are doing and frame for you a path of action, which can be internal partnerships, open innovation, collaboration, acquisition, whatever. So finally, where is it going, and what are large agri-food companies doing around healthy aging. Uh, First, again, I'm maybe repeating myself on that, but I find it very interesting to look at is that it's a space that is moving very fast, and as it is at the intersection of so many different areas, we shouldn't just focus on food because when we look at what's happening around health and how it is merging with tech, it should give inspiration to the food ecosystem. For example, just have a look at the uh, brands like Whoop, Oura, The Ring, the connected watch like Whoop and the others, which are receiving funding from pharma company, or in the case of Whoop, from Abbott, the CGM maker for diabetes, to potentially tomorrow provide its tools in combination and use biomarkers to provide better advice. And then when you have CGM connected watch and all the insights that are coming to it, the relationship to food is quite immediate. So that's potential danger and an opportunity for food. And now, what are food companies doing into it? That's, I think, one of the conclusions is that when we look through the lens of our innovation radar, as you can see, everything is pretty much in green, so except food coaching and personalized foods, where we're showing that there is a growing engagement from the food industry, which is increasing its engagement, which has already a huge engagement in some spaces in first generation, but also quite large engagement and involvement in next generation ingredients. We see increasing appetite around biomimetics, around companion. So very much an industry and the whole food industry, which is moving towards the space. So that's first conclusion. Even if, again, there are some spaces in the bottom left where there are not that many companies that are increasing their participation. And finally, what I wanted was to share the questions that we think that everybody should ask themselves when they try to achieve a healthy aging strategy. To do that, I've shared our graph, or which we call healthy aging matrix, which is very simply trying to divide the world between indulgence and health product on one axis, and on another one, daily habits versus performance. And what we see is that space in the middle, products that are neither super around performance nor daily habits, that are neither really indulgent products that are maybe a bit indulgent, maybe not, maybe a bit healthy, but not that much. Products that try to fit all the categories. The space is already void, but it's increasingly being pushed to the borders and leaving one space, which is still very strong, of pure indulgence. So, to name it, I'm not sure that Nutella needs to have a version that is targeting to healthy aging. That would be quite wrong. But very few brands and very few products have the legitimacy to be on this green part. And you have the two healthy aging opportunities. One, which is very much related to performance, and one which is related to daily consumer habits. So I think that some brands can bridge the gap and move, but many of them won't be able to do so. So that's why it's important to look at creating new brands and new promises. So that's the three questions are pretty much related to it. First, can we map our set of brands, our portfolio in this matrix, and realistically, which are the ones that can jump to the right or to the left, and which ones are basically designed to fail? And then what will happen to us as a company and how to reshuffle our portfolio? And then that will be my last slide, how to win in this healthy aging world and race. As I said, step one is to analyze the current portfolio compared to current medium long-term trend around protein, collagen, fibers, GLP-1. Then, and we feel that very much best strategy is to identify a niche where the brand or the company has a level of legitimacy, which can be elderly care, which can be longevity, which can be performance, and try to offer new products, either through existing brands, acquisition, extension, creation, and services. Because as we've probably understood, we feel that's very necessary. Test, reframe, integrate into external partners, and step three, which shouldn't come too soon, is establish partnerships with relevant universities, startups, and other companies that develop ingredients that will give you a long-term edge, an advantage, and differentiation in that space of healthy aging plus. And finally, once you have validated this niche, your relevance in that space, expand towards other dishes and potentially the general population. That would be our framework of how to succeed in the healthy aging space. And obviously, that's definitely what we do with clients, helping them to define such and more refined frameworks for the spaces that they need to explore by looking at what is relevant for them, what they should put on their own innovation radar, what they should prioritize, and finally to deep dive the core topics and find the best path of action for their core innovation strategy. Thank you for your time, for your attention, and for this quick journey around the healthy aging space. We could spend hours more looking at each of the different trends. I hope you found it interesting. Again, if you have any question, you can ask them on the Q&A tool. And thank you again.
Thank you, Matthieu. Thank you. Thank you very much for this presentation. So now we have some questions to answer. Maybe the first one, if you had to prioritize one topic in healthy aging today, one trend opportunity, which will deliver maybe the most value in the next 3 to 5 years, which one would you pick?
Uh, I think I'm not sure about the time frame. Maybe on the later part of the 3 5 years, maybe the 5 to 6 years, I would focus on first next generation ingredients, notably because, as I said, they are not ready to scale or to be implemented, but the ones that are very differentiated, they are patentable, securable, and it will be very key to have established very soon a relationship with the ingredient makers, or eventually to have acquired them to secure a differentiation. That's number one. Number two, still in next generation ingredients, there are some of them that could become ubiquitous, like lactoferrin, and I think it's very relevant to be experimenting with them right now. And third, I would again focus on services because I feel that's a space where the health industry is moving toward, even the cosmetic industry in some ways, but not the food industry. And I think that's a very, very big miss.
Yeah, thank you. Next question about geography. A lot of data, especially about GLP-1, are coming from the US. So we have questions about it, and especially what is health aging only a US thing, and how it can be more democratized in Europe.
Uh, Very good question. First, it's indeed something that we look through the lens of GLP-1 and then through the focus of the US. On that, we should add that one, just have a look at what's happening with GLP-1 in India and China, and we should see that it's definitely not just a US trend. Second, if you're based in Europe, you can look at the UK data. It's just following exactly the same pattern as the US. And if you are on continental Europe, just go to any pharmacist and ask them how many current consumers of GLP-1 they have and how many questions per day they have about GLP-1. You will find the result very surprising. And that's for part number one. And part number two, healthy aging is relying on the premise that consumers will want to take care of their health through food, pretty much as in Europe, notably, we have this idea around sun that you have your a certain amount of capital that you can be exposed to sun to a certain quantity, etc., and everybody's taking care about that. This idea in Asia is very, very strong around food, and you are your own doctor through your health, etc. So it's definitely not just a US trend. It's something that is pushing globally, and aging. If we feel it in Europe and the US, just go to Japan and you would see in any convenience store so many healthy aging targeting products already.
Thank you. And just to answer some question directly, we will share then the video of this presentation, not a slide deck directly, but you can find a lot of content about healthy aging on our website. We have recently put it on it. Not an article about this. So you can find a lot of data about healthy aging on our website. I have a question about trends that could be overhyped and other trends that could be underestimated. Do you have some thoughts about this?
Uh, I think there is a slight overhype around longevity right now. We are ourselves very excited by this topic. I think everybody is getting excited. But as I said, we spent quite some time looking in depth into the field, and I've not seen solutions that are really making a difference right now. So it's still a lot of marketing. So I think that still a bit overhyped. And one which is underhyped, I'd say, is hydration. I think that it's fascinating, very specific topic. I really like the recent example. I think you all know the brand Gatorade from PepsiCo, which was very much targeting sports and performance, etc. They have completely reframed and repacked the brand to basically say you don't have to do sports to need to get hydrated. You can go on most US carriers, plane carriers, and now you're getting offered hydration pouches, etc. The idea that hydration is one of the topics to take care is very strong, and I think to go back to the question, in some regions, especially Europe and a bit in Asia, we have not seen it taken as much, and we feel it will come.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe one question to conclude, and not a simple one, I think, but a really interesting one. I have a question about someone is asking, is there already a company that target aging people and promise them healthy aging with a complete approach, not just by addressing specific needs, but with a global promise. So I know the answer is no,
The answer
but
is yes, but not at the same at not at a reasonable price.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. And so maybe you can elaborate on it and explain why today it's maybe too complicated or very expensive.
Uh, so the answer, it exists.
Mm.
In the US, it will cost around one to $200,000 per year, and in Europe you find degraded version at around 10-20,000. But basically, the full promise is around 1 to 200K per year. Why? But just because health costs a lot in the US, but also. Just to give you an idea, if you want to measure the best measurement of your lifespan and health span nowadays is your VO2 max. And to do that, to do a test, it's not something that you could do online. You need equipment which are quite heavy, quite complicated. You need experts to read it. You need to do a lot of screening, blood work, etc. So just the infrastructure to deliver any personalized result just cost a lot. So could we scale it? We could. But nobody has yet found an easy way to do it. Maybe the most interesting thing that I've seen around the space, and again, it's a bit more about health than food, and very much more than about health than food, is a startup called Neko from the founder of Spotify, which is doing body scans in the UK and in Sweden, where you can go for $200 or $300 per year, do a full body scan, a full blood work scan, and give you a full picture of where you are. And if you were able to connect that with CGM, continuous glucose monitoring, with devices such as Whoop, and with AI recommending food, then you could achieve something very interesting
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
in the
Well,
future.
in the future, but maybe a near future. Thank you for your presentation and all your answers. I know there are some questions left, but we don't have time to answer everybody. Um, Thank you, people, for attending this webinar. We will share the video in our next newsletter. And until then, do not hesitate to contact us if you have more questions about LCAG.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.